A name you know, starting today if you didn't already, Tona Tiu. And last but certainly not least, Jennifer Lopez. We're off to a good start.
Yeah.
The reason I so responded to this movie when I first saw it many, many months ago is somehow you made this movie of incredible scale independently. It was a passion project for all of you. And Bill, for you, this is a project that's been in the works for a long time. So tell us the story that led to your Kiss of the Spider Woman.
Sure. You know, it started for me as an idea when I was writing the script of Chicago, because it felt to me that these three great Kander and Ebb musicals, one had been made, Cabaret, and Chicago, that this was the third part of the trilogy, really. And that Molina is very much like Roxy Hart and Sally Bowles, in that he has a very, very difficult reality that he tries to escape through show business. And because it was about somebody who was obsessed with movie musicals, it felt like the most natural thing to translate. You know, there's so many great musicals that really shouldn't be movies, but it felt like this one should. I pursued it seriously, talking to Terrence McNally and John Kander about 10 years ago, and then we hit a brick wall with the rights until around 2.5 years ago, when finally they all came together, and I got going, and then it moved pretty quickly, because when you make a movie like this, and I did it independently, you always have to have in mind, how can I get this movie made? And I just had one idea in mind: if Jennifer Lopez wants to do it. And I'll let you pick up from there. Well, sent it to you, right?
You sent it to me. Yes, he sent me the script, and I read it, and I remember reading it in bed and thinking, oh my God, is this happening? I've been waiting for this my whole entire life. I get to sing, I get to dance, I get to play 3 characters. What? What is happening right now? It was honestly a dream come true, and something that I've been waiting for probably since I was about 8 years old, and I was sitting in front of the TV watching West Side Story with my mom, and I knew like that's what I wanted to do with my life. So then we got it made. I said yes.
She said yes.
You can feel it watching the movie. It's just a joyous, surprising performance, frame to frame. And I wonder, like, what those initial conversations were like between you and Bill as you were kind of discovering this character, this world, what the process of making the movie would be. What can you share about that?
I mean, I think we really talked about the 3 characters. We talked about Ingrid Luna being the actress, and then her playing these 2 parts in this movie that Molina is, sharing with Valentine in the prison. And I think it was about kind of like, I think Bill was like, I really want to see a side of you that I've never seen. I want to see you in a new way. You've done so much in your life, and people know you so well. I want to do something that just kind of where it's a new thing for you. And we started kind of like just looking at the different characters and what they represented and how we would make them come to life. And I remember when he first said, he was like, I really want Aurora to be like platinum blonde. I was like, no. I was like, I don't do platinum blonde. Platinum blonde, I'm Puerto Rican, that does not work. And he's like, we're gonna do platinum blonde. We're gonna find the right thing. And we figured it out with the skin tone and the makeup and everything. And we found it, and we created it. And when I would get into character for Aurora every day, I felt like I was back in that time. I felt like if I was an actress who came here and was made to be platinum blonde and, you know, kind of had this different voice and this different accent, and we really found the way in. But for me, emotionally, finding the way in the initial conversations was really about love and her search for love. And that being Molina's search, right? So we kind of picked it apart little by little, and all of the conversations that we had and all of the collaboration we had on the characters was so thrilling for me. It was really a beautiful experience in that way as an actor and a singer and a dancer.
Yeah, and that's right. You know, there's the obvious, like, astonishing dance and singing and all that stuff, but the heart of it is Jennifer's brilliance as an actress, because that was the first perception she had, that her story is Molina's story. They are both people who have been incapable of having love in their lives and who discover it. So her commitment as an actress to making those scenes work within the movie is the only reason the movie works, because there's a lot of Hollywood musical scenes in there, and if you don't care about it, the whole house of cards will collapse.
So Jennifer springs to mind for this role. In terms of the role of Molina, I would imagine it was more of a process in finding to you. What can you say about how this came to be?
Yeah, well, I got to say, it's a real credit to Artists Equity in that they said, you don't need to find a star. We know that this is such an important role, find the right person. So that was great. And we went out, and it was a search. I'll just list them though. It's Colombia, Argentina, Uruguay, Mexico, Spain, UK, many cities in America. It was an open call thing. The only thing is, like, it had to be a Latin actor, preferably a gay actor. I thought that was pretty important. I did see a lot of trans actors too. I thought that was a real possibility. But the trick of it was, as opposed to other versions of this, I was casting two roles. You know, it was also Kendall Jackson. It was also somebody who could play that suave, debonair 40s sidekick in a musical. You know, and that's where I have to say, and sing and dance with Jennifer Lopez, and that's where a lot of people fell by the wayside. But I just will say that Tona sent in a tape, and instinctually I knew right away we had it. And of course, it took months and months to actually, you know, really, you know, commit to that. But it was remarkable. Straight up.
Suave and debonair.
What do you remember about recording that first tape?
Well, I think I was like the midnight horse, because I remember getting the email to do the self-tape around like December 18th, 19th, so the industry was shutting down. And when I read the script, it felt spiritual. Like there's a few roles in my life where I was like, yep, this is mine. Like and it happened with Vida, it happened with Promised Land, it happened with Carry On. And so then when I read this, I was just like, oh my God, I know what story is being told here. And I remember locking myself up in my office and just like mining that song, She's a Woman, over and over, because there's so many different ways that a musical can get told, right? But until I found that emotional through line, I wasn't like content. And so I submitted that tape, and then I got a call, like I think it was December 22nd, saying, don't move. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And then January 2nd, 9 a.m., we got a call saying, you're coming to New York. And you're doing the dance call and doing the singing, and I went in, and you know, I prepared my stuff as usually, and I have this mentality of let it go and let it be God, right? And transparently, Bill's vision was someone who was older, and so they passed. And I remember coming back home and just thinking, this feels spiritually not right, but I'm going to let it go. And the next morning, 2 weeks later, the next morning after I made that decision, my manager called me and said, did Bill Condon email you? And I was like, why would Bill Condon email me? And he wrote me the funniest letter that said, I have been having second, third, and fourth thoughts. You can tell me to fuck off, but I would love for you to come in for a reading with Diego Luna. And I did, and then he called me and said, you got it. And literally said, "Are you lying?" And he's like, "No." And I was like, "Okay, because if you are lying, this is a really cruel joke." And he's like, "Why would I lie about something like this? Are you excited?" And I was like, "Yeah, I gotta go." But it was just incredible. It was really, and Bill trusted me with the material, and I got to work with literally the legend Jennifer fucking Lopez. So it was one of those moments where sometimes you don't get opportunities to not just play one character, but to play 3 different iterations of the same spirit. So I was like, if you invite me to the party, babe, I'm not gonna leave crumbs on the table. Like, we're gonna have some fun.
And you did not. When did the two of you first meet?
When did we first meet?
So I remember distinctly. When did we first meet? Well, I will never forget that day. Because it was the day I met Jennifer Lopez. Good question, Jen. So I got flown out 3 weeks before for a little Broadway boot camp. And I learned the numbers and I was like ready. And then they said that Jennifer Lopez is coming tomorrow for a put-in rehearsal, which is great. I didn't get the memo that everybody got their haircut done and brand new outfits and Luduca shoes to see Jennifer Lopez, because I showed up looking a mess. And here comes, quite literally, the sun into a room of vision. And then she's like, "Oh my God, babe, we're gonna be best friends. Hit the music." And a number that I had been working on for months while she was doing another job in Los Angeles, and then she comes in and nails it. And for a 6-hour rehearsal, it ends up dropping to 2 hours, and then she's like, "Thank you, babe, I'll see you tomorrow." Meanwhile, I'm just sitting there like, yeah, that's why she's Jennifer Lopez. That's correct, I have to step it up. I'll never forget that
So it was at the rehearsal. See, because I remember seeing you on the tape so many times.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I remember seeing him on tape. I remember talking to Bill about it. I remember meeting the other actors you were thinking about, and then going back to Tona and me and Bill talking about you. And then him saying, I think I'm gonna go that way, and I'm like, yes, that's the way to go. That's the way to go. And that's so. Those were my first times where I felt like I met you. And then we danced. And then we danced. It was lovely. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the rehearsals. Jennifer, I think we all know you to be a consummate performer, but as you mentioned, this is new terrain. It's a new kind of project for you. What did the preparation look like? Was it different? Clearly, you showed up day one ready to go.
Yes, I was ready. Well, I told you since I was 8 or 9 years old. But I started in musical theater, which people don't know. Like, that is my heart and my soul. And so, like, the dancing is actually how I dance. The singing is actually how I sing. I know the world got to know me as like a pop star and, kind of doing all the hip hop stuff and everything. And I love that. I do that too. But this is me. Like, I got to finally do the thing that I feel like I was always meant to do, and so it was very exciting. And I couldn't wait to do it. That's what all my training was when I started, becoming a dancer when I was very young. I danced since I was 5 years old, taking ballet, taking jazz, taking flamenco, taking, all of these things, taking, Broadway dance classes and, in the city. That's what I did. So I was ready. I was ready for this. And when I was working with Sergio Trujillo, who was lovely and wonderful, he had worked with Cheetah in the 90s musical, which was amazing. And he remember the first day. And I've been a little spoiled because I run my own rehearsals when I'm doing my own shows. So I get up when I want, I sit down when I want. And now I'm in there like with the Broadway guy. And he's like, "All right, get up, let's do this." I was like, "Excuse me?" He was like, "Come on, let's dance." And I was like, "Okay." And we get up and we started dancing and it was amazing. And he was like, "Oh, this reminds me of when I danced with Cheetah." And, we both kind of like got a tear in our eye and I was like, this is really happening. And this has like been a dream of many people to bring this to life. Actually, Tom Curtahay, who's one of our producers, who was Terrence McNally's husband, came and saw me in my Vegas residency, my last Vegas residency, and he came backstage and he said, "I want you to do Kiss of the Spider Woman." And I said, "Oh yeah, sure, yeah. There's Benny Medina right over there. Talk to him," And I distinctly remember it. So this was something that's kind of been in the ether for a while to come to life, and the singing and the dancing and the rehearsal actually was the most fun part for me. I think it really was where we got to like dance and really do the numbers with all these amazing Broadway dancers that you see there, and where I got to work with Tona and Diego and really just live my dream of when I see movies of people like rehearsing the Broadway musicals, it was me. Now it was me doing that, and it was so exciting.
How did you find it? Once you saw the way that Jennifer showed up on day one, getting into the rhythm of it, and also finding these two distinct characters we were talking about earlier.
I mean, I am a workaholic. I love it. I love what I do. If you look at my bank account, I'm not doing it for the money. No, truthfully, it was a passion project. And as soon as they opened the door and said, "It's yours," the phone call started. I had to lose 45 pounds I didn't have to. I chose to. I chose to lose 45 pounds for it because I had just come off of Carry On, where I had bulked up a little bit. And so Molina, my grand experiment with Molina was to embody the entire spectrum with this film. And I wanted to make sure that they had the slender nature and to straddle the line between both femininity and masculinity. And so that was the first hurdle. And then, truthfully, it was always my secret dream to be in a musical. I had taken classes. If you ever see me in West Hollywood, in my car, I am belting musical songs. But I had never thought of actually throwing my hat in the ring for a musical. So when I got the opportunity, we booked it. We started training the dancing, and really thinking about the pastiche, because I'm a cinephile as well. So thinking about paying homage to Montgomery Clift, Gene Kelly, looking at even people like Olivia de Havilland. There's so many little things from their performances of that era that I wanted to embed. And so that was it felt like school right before we had to go in it. But there was a moment where, I will never forget this because Jennifer is so fierce. No, in a good way, fierce in a good way. Bill, they called us up for our first table read and we did a visit, and I just remember thinking I brought my glasses and I was just gonna read it, and Jennifer just starts belting the song and I was like, oh, glasses off. And we climbed on top of the table inches away, which is the poster now, and Bill just sitting between us yeah, that's it. There it is. So when I saw her level of equipment, I was like, oh, if she's going full, let's go, babe. Let's do it.
That is a moment, Jennifer, where it feels like you're just all in. I mean, we could see the kind of possession of the character you have there.
That might be my favorite song in the whole thing.
Is it?
Yes. I mean, I love the Spider Woman. Obviously, it's the big song in there.
Microphone.
What? Oh, I'm so sorry. You would think I would know this, right? I actually do this for a living. It just felt so intimate. We were having a conversation. Yeah. I think The Visit for me was my favorite song, and I love the dialogue between them. I love that, it's in a fever dream, but it's really where she gets to seduce him and bring him in, and you feel the full power of her powers, of the Spider-Woman's powers, and how she loves them and how she just wants to be kissed, and it's just so seductive and beautiful and intoxicating, and it was a real moment. I've never got to have a moment like that on screen or in any movie I've done, and so and to sing and then hit the high note and do the whole thing. It was just it was awesome. It was
there
great.
was a moment where you were seducing me where I'm like, okay, Molina's queer. Is Molina queer? Hold on, I was seduced.
Bill, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the way you made this movie, because I think it also explains why these performances are so special to some extent, because you really shot two distinctive movies in order to make it work financially and otherwise. So how did you set this production up, and what did that separation look like?
Well, can I say that gives me an opportunity to talk about the person who's missing today, Diego Luna.
Huge round of applause.
Who sends his regrets. He's shooting. We all know that, and couldn't make it. But you know, we made this Hollywood musical in New Jersey, the bowels of New Jersey, right? And then we went to Uruguay and shot the prison drama, and that was Diego and Tona really putting on a two-man play. You know, this was like 2 solid weeks of rehearsal, and we couldn't get through it all, so we'd rehearse on the weekends. You know, Diego and you would vote about whether we'd have both days off or one day off, or, you know, we shot it in order like a play. It was, so the whole thing developed in real time. It was an amazing experience, one I've never had before. And I just got to say that Diego Luna is just the quintessential kind of actor, both on stage and on screen. He's done a lot of theater, you know? The thing, we always saw this, all of us, as a love story, right? And I think it's what Diego does here is convinces you that this man falls into this unlikely love, you know, and he was so committed to expressing that. That was his focus every day, little things that he was planting that then kind of come to fruition in when they finally make love.
I'm not sure how familiar others are with previous iterations, but this is also, I think it's the queerest Kiss of the Spider Woman I've seen.
Everybody's kissing.
But it's very true to who these characters are in a lot of ways, and I think it's embedded in both parts of the movie. But I know that was really important to you as well.
Yes, absolutely. The you know, this has been a groundbreaking movie show. Every time it was kind of pushing something forward. However, the novel itself, written 49 years ago, is more modern than any version that's come before, you know, and I really wanted to be true to that. I'll give you an example. In other versions, the kiss, you know, the lovemaking is transactional. It's Valentine realizing that Molina's going to get out and saying, well, if I do this, then he'll take this message for me. And that's not true of the novel, and that's not what we did, you know. So that's an example of something where things had to be adjusted for the sensibility of the time, you know.
So, Tona, to you, can you talk about forming this beautiful connection with Diego that we see in this film, and it sounds like pretty intense working conditions at times?
Yeah, well, like Bill said, we did shoot it in sequence, which is unheard of in filmmaking, and I had done all my prep work to create Molina, and Diego did all his prep work to do Valentine, but the moment that I walked into the cell for the very first time was the first time that we had ever seen each other in character. And I think that there's a performative nature of Molina in the very beginning that gets deconstructed with every passing scene and with every passing trauma. And Diego and I, well, Molina and Valentine, learned to take care of each other with every moment, and learned how to see each other. And I don't think it would have been possible if it wasn't for those conditions. Because like it's one of those weird moments where content and form almost match, right? And I mean, if you ever work with Diego Luna, that man is so charming. So falling in love with him is not hard.
Very easy.
Very, very easy. But by the end of it, there was a moment where when I said my goodbye and left the cell, I burst into tears. Like I was like hard, just like, we didn't capture it because it was a different day set up, but physically it just hurt to say goodbye to him.
And I think in the way that you made the movie, the other side of this, of course, is you get to make the big MGM musical with all the bells and whistles. It looks incredible, even on an independent budget. And so, Jennifer, I wonder just what it felt like to play in that sandbox, what you remember about what those sets look like, how you could interact with it, because every time I feel like we see you in this movie, number one, it's a completely different setting, and number two, it looks like you're really able to interact with the space.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, every single time I walked onto a set and we had a brand new set, whether it was her bedroom in the beginning and the bathtub, it was like, oh, this is where Aurora lives. This is perfect. And even the square, the town square, where we had the carnival and where Diego and I kind of go through and he sings Everyday Man, was so it was so epic. It was so big and beautiful. I was like, what is happening here? And you kind of got the feeling of what it must have been like to be back then in the 50s and when they would build all of these sets for these musicals. And it was very authentic. It felt very kind of like you said, there was all these different scenes for Aurora. There was all these different moments for her. And even the the dark room, which was a smaller set, it still was kind of epic, except for the rake. You killed us with the rake. It was like a crooked floor in Jersey that we had to. Sorry for another time. But yes, it was just like everyone had kind of a secret little magic to it that lent to the fantasticalness of the musicals of those days.
Tonatiuh, I'll give you the last word. You mentioned at the beginning feeling a real spiritual connection to this role, to this material. I'm wondering if there was anything out of this that you discovered about yourself, about this art form, what it was like for you on the way out of it. Small question.
Because we're in a room full of other performers, I want to place it there. I think sometimes we fall into the fallacy of having to commercialize ourselves as artists. And in that, some of your own self gets lost. And I think that I was told early on in my career that being who I was and how I looked would be a hindrance. And so I made myself more marketable, or whatever that thing is mentally, right? But in this, I discovered that the more that I leaned into the totality of my being, that the more that I was able to lose myself in this. And I got to work with some people who have had long careers and have done what all of us dream to do, and their assurance and their trust in me to be able to do it helped remind me of the artistry that I wanted to do so much. But as once the movie has come out, I think the thing that's impacted me the most is how relevant it all is. And for trans folk, for non-binary folk, for queer folk, who are also being told to be put in these boxes and that who they are is not welcome, fuck that. In a time where Latinos are being treated like animals, fuck that. And for artists like Nuyorican, Mohari, and Bill Condon and Jennifer to make a commitment on not just telling an authentic story, but doing one with 3 Latin leads and some of the best Latin talent in Broadway. And I'm gonna rephrase this, with some of the best talent, period, who just so happen to be Latin. Speaks volumes, because we're constantly being fed this narrative that Latin content doesn't sell. Well, it's just content, babe, and it's amazing. And the more you invest in it, The Mother was a huge, all of Jennifer's stuff was a huge success. Diego Luna just came off of Andor, I came off of Carry On. And you cast us, it works, so just keep doing it.
I think of no better note to end on. Thank you all so much, and thank you all for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
I got you right here. He's right.